What if humans were suddenly 5 meters tall? Let's imagine a scenario where something triggers a massive genetic mutation, a shift in the DNA responsible for human height. In just one generation, humans no longer average 5'7". Instead, we're towering giants, standing at 5 meters, 16 feet tall. Sounds like science fiction? It's biologically possible, at least in theory. Human height is influenced by genetics, hormones like growth hormone, GH, and nutrition. If evolution or biotech altered these factors drastically, such a shift could happen. But here's the catch. Biology isn't just about growing bigger, it's about supporting that size. The first problem, bones and gravity. Here's the bad news. The taller you get, the heavier you become, and not linearly. A typical adult weighing 155 pounds at 5'7" would balloon to 1,200 pounds if scaled up to 16 feet. That's about the weight of a small car. Your bones would need to be thicker, denser, maybe 5 to 6 times stronger to handle the stress. And joints? Forget it. The cartilage in your knees would be crushed under that weight. Unless we evolve some ultra-strong synthetic-like tissue, walking would be painful, if not impossible. You'd move like a dump truck with bad suspension, slow, clunky, and constantly on the verge of collapse. The heart and blood flow. Nightmare ever. Stand up too fast and feel dizzy? That's your heart struggling to pump blood to your brain, against gravity. Now imagine your brain is 3 stories up. At 16 feet tall, your heart would need to push blood far higher and with much more pressure. That means massive cardiac strain. You'd need a heart the size of a beach ball, pumping at intense pressure levels. Otherwise, you risk constant fainting, blood pooling in your legs, or worse, stroke and cardiac arrest. Without a biological upgrade, your circulatory system would collapse. You might spend more time lying down than walking, like a land whale trying to survive gravity. Eating like a giant, a farming apocalypse. A person of that size wouldn't just walk differently, they'd eat differently, and by that, we mean a lot more. If the average adult needs now 2,500 calories per day, a 16-foot human could need anywhere from 15,000 to 20,000 calories. That's like eating 10 Big Macs per meal, just to stay alive. Now scale that to an entire species. Our global food systems would collapse. We'd need more farmland, more water, more livestock. Agriculture as we know it wouldn't be able to keep up. Factory farming might evolve into something entirely new, maybe lab-grown meat farms the size of stadiums. A world that's too small. Now, imagine daily life at 16 feet tall. Doorways? Way too short. Cars? Forget about it. Elevators? You're taking the stairs, if they don't collapse under you. Furniture? Looks like dollhouse props. Houses, schools, hospitals, cars? Everything would have to be redesigned. The world would need a complete architectural revolution. We'd need cities with towering infrastructure, roads the width of airport runways, and toilets the size of walk-in showers. And that's just the physical part. Society reimagined. The rise of the giants. Let's say humanity somehow survives the biological challenges of being 5 meters tall. Our bones are stronger. Our hearts are more powerful. We're eating like mammoths, and cities have been rebuilt to accommodate our giant frames. But now comes the second wave of consequences. How would our social, political, and environmental systems adapt or collapse? A world of 16-foot-tall people isn't just physically different. It's a total reboot of civilization. Economic collapse and reinvention. The global economy is built on size efficiency. From clothing to homes to transportation, everything is optimized for the current human scale. And now imagine, every shirt requires 10 times more fabric. Every house needs 10 times the material. Every vehicle consumes 10 times the fuel. Cost of living would skyrocket. Energy demands would go through the roof. Most existing businesses would go bankrupt unless they pivot overnight to giant-sized production. Industries like construction, textile manufacturing, and transportation would need a complete overhaul. Meanwhile, inflation would run wild. A simple meal could cost hundreds of dollars. Only the ultra-rich might afford customized housing or safe transportation. The rest? Forced to live in giant government-run concrete shelters, tightened tenements. Environmental disaster. Let's talk about the planet. More food, more space, more energy. All of it means one thing: environmental collapse. To feed 8 billion giants, we'd have to deforest huge swaths of land for agriculture and livestock. Water usage would triple. Pollution from larger factories, vehicles, and energy plants would skyrocket. Greenhouse gas emissions? Off the charts. Cities would expand horizontally. Skyscrapers would give way to sky bridges, massive infrastructures connecting megahomes. Wildlife would be pushed to extinction. We'd basically be turning Earth into a planet-sized feedlot for humans. And worst of all, with our massive size, climate change would hit harder and faster. Giant bodies trap more heat. A warmer Earth means more health risks, more resource fights, and less time to adapt. Intelligence versus instinct. Would giants still be human? With a larger brain comes more potential processing power, right? Maybe. But maybe not. Our brains would be bigger, but not necessarily better. Cognitive efficiency relies on neuron density, not just size. Stretch the brain too far, and communication between regions slows down. In other words, 16-foot humans might think slower, react slower, and learn slower. Language might evolve to be more visual or instinctual. Emotional intelligence might shift. And if the brain's physical demands outweigh its capacity, we might see a decline in abstract thinking, memory, and creativity. Would we still be the same species if we couldn't dream, imagine, or innovate like before? Division of species. Giants versus normals. Now comes the biggest question. What if not everyone grows to 5 meters tall? What if only a portion of humanity mutates, or if some groups remain normal-sized? We're looking at the rise of two species, and with it, two classes. The giants, larger, stronger, dominant. The normals, smaller, more adaptable, but potentially marginalized. Giants would need more space, food, and protection, making them a logistical nightmare in cities designed for smaller people. Normals might start viewing them as burdens. Tensions would rise. Segregation could return, not based on race or wealth, but on scale. Could this spark wars? Would giants try to dominate? Would normals retaliate with technology or weapons? It's not far-fetched to imagine a dystopian future where size determines status, and empathy disappears under the weight of survival. A cultural reset. Even our culture would change. Movies, filmed on massive sets. Music, louder, deeper to reach giant eardrums. Sports? Imagine a basketball league where players dunk on 20-foot hoops. Fashion, art, dating, education, every aspect of daily life would need reinvention. Children wouldn't learn to ride bikes. They'd learn to stomp carefully. Birth would be dangerous. Death would be expensive. The very definition of quality of life would change. Evolution, survival, and the fate of giants. Let's say we make it. Humanity survives the first few generations of being 5 meters tall. Cities are rebuilt, food systems barely function, and society has adapted, sort of. But the real question isn't, can we build bigger houses? Today it's, can we survive long-term? And if we do, what kind of species will we become? Evolution strikes back. Nature always finds balance, and being 16 feet tall puts humans at constant odds with biology, physics, and time. First, reproduction would become more dangerous. Childbirth already pushes the limits of human physiology. For giant humans, it would be catastrophic. Infants would be enormous. Maternal mortality could skyrocket. We might need artificial wombs or full medical automation just to sustain population growth. Next, there's the lifespan issue. Bigger creatures tend to age faster due to metabolic strain. Just look at dogs. Larger breeds often live shorter lives. At 5 meters, the human heart, bones, and joints are under relentless stress. Lifespans might shrink from 80 years to 40, or even less. Evolution could try to fix this. Thicker bones, larger hearts, stronger immune systems. But those adaptations take thousands of years. And humanity might not have that kind of time. Earth isn't big enough. There's a limit to what Earth can provide. Space, resources, energy, everything is finite. And 5-meter humans demand more of everything. Eventually, Earth simply won't be able to sustain us. We'd have two options: shrink back down using genetic engineering, return to normal size to reduce impact, leave Earth and colonize space. But space poses its own problems. On low-gravity planets like Mars or the Moon, larger bodies might suffer. Bones weaken, muscles atrophy. A giant human on Mars could collapse from their own weight due to lack of gravitational resistance. In other words, we're too big to stay and too fragile to leave. Technology becomes a crutch. To survive, giant humans would have to become more dependent on machines. We'd need exoskeletons for mobility, artificial organs to handle strain, smart agriculture to grow high-calorie crops, climate control suits to regulate body temperature. We'd become part machine, part human. The age of the natural human would end. The question is, would that still be humanity? Or a completely new species? Ocean collapse or transformation? Over time, we might see deep fragmentation in society. Those who reject technology may form primitive Titan tribes in wilderness areas. Others may upload their consciousness into artificial bodies, digital immortals in perfect 5-meter tall mechanical shells. Some might undergo genetic shrinkage programs, returning to smaller forms to survive better in limited spaces. What we once called human may split into multiple branches, each adapted for a different world, a different size, i.e., a different destiny. It wouldn't just be an evolutionary shift. It would be the end of a singular humanity, the inevitable decline. In a worst-case scenario, being too big might doom us. We'd consume too much, too fast. Ecosystems collapse. Wars erupt over land, water, calories. Diseases evolve rapidly in dense, oversized populations. Eventually, even our size becomes a disadvantage, not a blessing. Giant humans might begin to die out, replaced by smaller, more efficient descendants, engineered for sustainability, not grandeur. And so, after centuries of building up, we shrink. Not because we failed, but because we finally understood. Being giant doesn't make us stronger. It only makes our limits hit harder and faster. Final reflection. So, what if humans were 5 meters tall? At first, it sounds powerful, impressive. But in the end, it reveals something deeper about who we are. We were never designed to dominate the planet by size. Our strength isn't in how tall we stand, but how well we adapt, create, and cooperate. Now it's your turn. If you woke up tomorrow and found yourself 5 meters tall, what's the first thing you'd do? How would your life change? Would it be a blessing or a curse? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're dying to know. Would you embrace life as a giant, or miss the days when the world still fit you? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more What If deep dives. Because sometimes, imagining the impossible helps us understand the world we have.